New at 5, Michigan State Police stepping up patrols to crack down on distracted driving. Operation Ghost Rider will enforce Michigan's new distracted driving law, which has been in effect since June 30th.
The law bans people from handling their phones or any other handheld devices for any reason while driving, unless you're calling 911 or you're using a hands-free device. The ban includes watching videos while on the road,
Which no one should be doing anyway, right?
No.
Joining us live in studio this evening is Jim Santelli, the CEO of the Transportation Improvement Association. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
So we have a lot of problems when it comes to distracted driving. Really, it's an issue across the country. Can you tell us about this Operation Ghost Rider project?
So what Operation Ghost Rider is, it's a distracted driving enforcement initiative that uses unmarked spotter vehicles which contain a law enforcement passenger. When the spotter observes a distracted driver, we radio a fully marked unit to initiate a traffic stop.
All right, so simple enough. This has been, like we mentioned, in effect since summer of last year. Do you think people have gotten the picture? I know you were out on the roads today, and
Yes.
You mentioned before we came up with you, you saw quite a few distracted drivers.
Oh, definitely. You know, that's the unfortunate part. It's still a major problem that we're seeing on our roadways. Despite years of public education, we see that many drivers are aware of the dangers that they're not only causing themselves, but also putting others in harm's way, but they're still engaging in what many studies have shown is an addiction. In fact, studies show that anytime a driver looks away from the road to send a text message, email, whatever it may be, conduct a social media update, they're on average looking away for 4.6 of every 6 seconds. So if we put that into perspective, if you're traveling at 55 miles per hour, that's the equivalent of driving the length of a football field while blindfolded.
Wow. Yeah, that's covering a lot of ground, completely distracted. Can you talk about the effort just to make sure that we're hammering down on this, because it could save lives?
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, that's one thing I want to emphasize. Operation Ghost Rider, it's not designed to see how many citations we could issue. You know, some critics, I guess you could call them, would say, you know, it's a revenue generator. That's not the case. You know, our goal is to get no violations. You know, we're doing it specifically to save lives and prevent injuries and make our roadways safer for all. You know, as I mentioned, we see a lot of different behaviors out there. We've seen people watching movies. They're doing social media updates, FaceTime. Last year we had somebody who was typing on a laptop computer while on I-75. We had one driver who was traveling at over 90 miles per hour in a 45, typing away on her cell phone. So, you know, we're seeing all types of distractions out there, and, you know, that's the unfortunate part, is it's not getting any better.
What do people typically say when you do stop them, give them that citation? Do they try to come up with an excuse? Are they aware of the danger of what they're doing?
You know, some drivers, they'll admit to what they were doing, you know, and say it was wrong. We had many drivers today who said they heard about the initiative, but they were still taking that risk. You know, and then we've had other drivers who say, well, I'll just try to hide it next time better, you know, and they're not accepting responsibility for endangering themselves as well as other people.
Wow. So to be clear, you can still use your GPS or make a call, but you need to do those things before you start moving.
Yeah, so you should be using them in a hands-free mode. The law does allow for a single swipe or tap on the device, but it should be mounted in the vehicle. You cannot hold the phone in your hand, and that includes holding it up to your ear.
To be clear, a call comes in, you can answer it if it's
Yes.
not, you're not holding the phone in your hand.
Yes.
GPS, you're trying to see what's going on, you can touch it at the same
Yes.
time. Okay. All right. Anything else you want people to keep in mind going forward?
You know, I think the biggest thing is we all need to remember that when we're operating a motor vehicle, we have a huge responsibility to not only protect our lives, but also the lives of the innocent people traveling around us. And, you know, we talk about numbers. Those aren't just numbers. They're people who were taken away from their loved ones. You know, last year in the state of Michigan, we had 1,054 people killed in motor vehicle crashes. Those were preliminary numbers. And as I always say, you know, those were, again, not numbers, but they were families who, instead of having their loved one return home, they had a law enforcement officer come to their door and tell them they're never going to see their loved one again.
Yeah.
So that's something we all need to keep in mind.
Yeah,
Of course.
it can always wait. And then the one more thing I want to keep in mind, because a lot of people may not realize, even at a red light, this does apply, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So even if the vehicle is stationary, so if you're stopped at a red light or other traffic control device, such as a stop sign, you cannot type on your phone or have it in your hand.
Sure. All right, well, this is Jim Santilli. Thanks so much for joining us and for what
Thank
you're doing.
you.
Appreciate it.